welcome to Scale Your Sales Podcast. People that know me know that I'm not in favor of the macho sales terminology. Hunter, crushing quotas, and even close symbolizes the ending of a sale rather than the beginning of a relationship and partnership. My guest today has defied odds, really to become the top producer of every company she's ever worked within, ignoring attempts to get her to quit. So she's got a lot to offer us and a lot of experience that she'll be sharing with us. Elinor Stutz began breaking barriers long ago. She defied the theme, women can't sell. As CEO of Smooth Sales, Elinor embraced the motto, believe, become, empower. She is an international best-selling author, the top sales influencer, and an international speaker. Welcome to the Scale Your Sales Podcast, Elinor.
Thank you so much for the wonderful introduction, Janice. I appreciate it.
Well, it's great having you on here. You know, when I did all my research about you, there was so much that we need to cover here. So I'll get straight into it. What do you do for your clients?
I encourage my clientele to begin believing in themselves. That was my downfall initially. You have to just toughen up and show that you are dedicated to learning from errors, and moving forward every single day, and analyze every single evening that you can do it and not let anyone stop you. So my tagline that I share with people, which you mentioned, is believe, become, empower. Do it, teach others going in your footsteps how to do the same. So it's part of the community experience.
It's interesting, you defied quotas that, you know, and you beat them again and again. So it's interesting you said that at the beginning you didn't really believe in yourself. I'm really interested in your first networking event. Tell me a bit more about that.
That was amazing. It was after I had my sales career where I proved to myself I'm a very good salesperson. And so I very proudly announced that I was a sales trainer. The men couldn't stop laughing. They were doubled over, and the women ran away from me shrieking that I must be highly manipulative. And I was dumbfounded. After 11 years, this is what happens? So someone kindly came over to me and said, you have to write a book to establish credibility. And my phone wasn't ringing. There was nothing to lose, so I did. But at the same time, I went back to how I excelled in sales despite all the odds against me and no training provided. And I created this laser goal setting system, and I did the same for my entrepreneurship. And a number of months later, I went back to the same event, and people were astounded. I had a complete product line. I had a book to announce, and they were all asking me one after another, how are you advancing at lightning speed? And it was like, you know, he who laughs last laughs best. Or she.
Well, it seems that you've always defied the odds.
Yeah, that's my motto.
Tell me about when you broke your back as well.
Oh, it was my neck.
Oh.
And I wasn't supposed to survive, but it was very interesting. It's a long story, but the night before surgery, two visions came to me at the very moment my family was being consulted that I probably wouldn't survive, and I heard them burst into tears. But the two visions, the first one was I had high life marks, but I never gave back to communities. So I made an immediate pledge that I would begin giving back to communities any way I could, with one condition. I negotiate even with Great Beyond. I said, I have to be able to walk out of this hospital on my own to give my best to communities at large. That vision faded. A brilliant gold light came over my body. I will never forget the looks of it. It was just gorgeous. And the second vision came up and featured me as a speaker in front of crowds. And I said, yes, that's what I always wanted to do. I'm going to rise to the occasion as soon as the operation's complete. And I'm going to walk out of that hospital as we agreed upon. And I'm going to do exactly everything that I was directed to be doing. Well, the next morning I was heavily medicated, told I'd have 90 seconds to greet the surgeon. And he told me in no uncertain terms, Mrs. Stutz, when you wake up, most likely you'll be paralyzed. And being a salesperson, I heard most likely. He wasn't so convinced. So I completely mirrored him, a technique I never ever use because it's manipulative. And I said with every ounce of energy left in me, doctor, when I wake up, I fully expect to be well. And honest to goodness, the last thing I remember was him jumping backwards, a surgeon about to cut me open. So hours later, he's standing over me and he says, there's no rhyme or reason for what happened, Mrs. Stutz, but in 4 days, you will be able to walk out of this hospital on your own. You're a walking miracle. And the entire staff came to see me because they couldn't believe it.
It shows you how mind over matter is so powerful, which is a great example to share with people. Now, tell me more about your views on sales, diversity in sales. Like, is it an issue, and if so, how would you go about resolving it?
Well, I have to tell you, many years past, since I was in corporate, I was the pioneer saleswoman, and I assumed, with all the discussions we see online, it has to be, evenly matched or almost. Well, I've been told that that's not the case at all. My feeling is, just as salespeople have quotas, perhaps some types of reasonable quota needs to be given to the person who does the interviewing, whether it's a recruiter or a hiring manager, that there have to be standards set in corporate. And because we think differently. The men laughed at me for wanting to build relationships and become friendly with my clientele, take them for lunch. I have great discussions. I went shoe shopping with one client, and the manager saw us across the street and he said, I've never seen anybody do that. Well, why not? We all wear shoes. So at any rate, because of the diversity in thinking, when you get people from around the world on a team, you're going to have a far greater clientele because we all connect with people differently. If you're just focusing on men, white men, boy, you're not doing your business good at all.
Absolutely. And, I'd agree with you on quotas because, we all tend to reflect who we are. So, that's why they keep recruiting the same people. That's who we feel comfortable with. And at least quotas will start focusing the mind of the recruiters. And women leave higher education with higher exam results, so they start off in a very positive position. And then, as they go through, the recruitment, process, they get deselected out. They, are offered jobs that are less than, and then they're judged by it, and it limits them in the future. So, quotas will actually challenge people to think outside of that.
I just got something else to add. When you hire a recruiter or somebody inside, have somebody recruit who's traveled a little bit, perhaps gone to other countries. Yeah. That changes your thinking entirely.
Yes, it does. I agree. Totally agree. So what's your view on the relationship, the changing dynamics between buyers and sellers?
Well, with the internet, buyers have become very, very savvy, and they do a lot of research up front. Some companies don't even bother with representatives, but the ones who do, the representative has to become far more skilled than they used to be. And they need to do the traditional research, the company, the industry, their competitors. But the other side of the coin is to know your competitors inside out, the ins and outs of your own industry, and then research the top 2 to 3 competitors that you always come against and compare and contrast how you're different. And then take those differences and speak to the issues that the potential client has. And when you can connect all those dots, you're going to do extraordinarily well.
Brilliant. And then I would imagine that, diversity has another aspect, an additional aspect back to that, because if you're reflecting the people that you're influencing, then all the better, isn't it? Because we do like to work within our comfort zone. So if someone feels very comfortable with you, you can build up a relationship, then surely that works in your favor as well.
Absolutely. You just reminded me of one of my favorite stories. I never liked college or classroom, and so I took the quickest route to graduate a 4-year university. At any rate, I was at the SBA one year in San Francisco, and the woman behind the desk up front said to me, she's from Peru. And out of my mouth came the words, "My tata drinka kukuyan." And she almost fell off the chair. It's Quechua for where does this narrow road lead to? You can imagine being in the Andes high up. So one of the things I took, instead of linguistics, which was a difficult class, I took Quechua, language of the Incas. It came in handy. And then she gave me all kinds of referrals. So that's what I'm saying about travel a little bit and relate to people of varying types and countries. Makes a difference.
It certainly does. And also makes you more interesting as well, doesn't it? You've got so much more to talk about and share. What's your one tried and tested strategy that you would offer listeners on how to scale their sales?
How to scale your sales? That's the best question for last. So it's about building trust up front, grooming the relationship the best you can by getting to know people, being professionally personal, and learning what's of important to them first. And then initially, if they're unsure because there's a bigger and better competitor that they use or are considering, suggest that you be the backup supplier, and perhaps they test one of your smaller services up front so that you may prove yourself that you deliver outstanding service and everything you say is on the up and up. And very often they like that approach. They will do that. And that's how, in many instances, even with Fortune 500, 100 companies, I gained the business and then more grew over time. It works like a charm.
Last question is, who's your hero or shero?
I owe my career and confirmation that I knew what I was doing to Dale Carnegie and his public speaking training. It made all the difference, and that's where I learned it's okay to be professionally personal. Ask about pictures on a desk, family, pets, hobbies, signs of them on the wall before you ever get into the business conversation. And that made all the difference. It relaxes everybody. And people said, these conversations are so much fun, come on back. In fact, on my first job, I came back for multiple conversations. The people loved talking to me. And finally, the CEO said, you have to buy from her or you're just wasting time and I'm going to fire you. So honest to goodness, it's a true story. By the 4th month, I was the top producer at my company where I had no training. I knew nothing about what I was selling or how the equipment worked. I was the top producer. Because I built the relationship, but I learned that from the Dale Carnegie public speaking. And of course, my public speaking became polished too.
Yeah. So do you think today it's still about the relationship?
Absolutely. People who try to sell up front and push services down someone's throat, they don't do well. They have to go look for jobs continually. People want to trust you. They know they can depend upon you. And then that's another way that sales scale. And it also builds your network because they give you referrals and testimonials.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So how can people get hold of you?
Email's a great way. It's Elinor@smoothsale.net. And my name is spelled ELINOR. And my website is smoothsale.net.
Fantastic. Where did you come up with the smooth sale?
My daughter, she was a teenager when I went back to work, and I knew I couldn't quit. That's what motivated me, because my kids were keeping an eye on their mom. So, but in her eyes, she saw me getting every sale I ever attempted. I used to talk about the bigger ones. So she went into marketing and she said, Mom, there's only one name for your company, and that's Smooth Sale.
Brilliant. Fantastic. You know, it's certainly a motivator, isn't it, when you have to put food on the table?
Absolutely. You just can't quit. You have to find a better way.
Yeah, you have to keep going. Thank you so much for being a guest on Scale Your Sales Podcast. It's been an honor speaking to you, Elinor.
It's been a privilege being your guest, Janice. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you.
All right, take care.